This segment of Invent America TV is brought to you by the law offices of R.P. Baraska. RPB law offices have been bringing corporate-level legal expertise to the independent inventor community for more than 20 years. For all your inventing legal needs, trust rpblawoffices.com.
Welcome back. This is the Invent America show here on Invent America Radio on the King Broadcasting Network. I'm the Cajun contractor, Michael King, along with the inventor lady herself, Miss Rita Crompton. Want to welcome all of you. Want to welcome our audience from Home Talk USA that's now tuning in to the Invent America show where America invents. She is here right now, back from a little hiatus. Well, all of us had a little 2-week hiatus, and we all really enjoyed the festivities of American 250th birthday. I'm excited to be here, back behind the famous Golden Hammer microphone. Now let's welcome the inventor lady herself, Miss Rita Crompton. Rita, welcome back.
Hello there, and happy birthday to America.
250 years, I tell you. We all saw it. It was just an amazing show. And what's amazing that I was watching was, the pageantry was there, the entertainment was there, the fireworks. That fireworks display was just beyond anything you can even comprehend and watch. But what was amazing to me is that we had some wars, and to have these great American soldiers like the gentleman, the private, the corporal, that was 107 years old, that actually stormed the beaches of Normandy there on stage. This is once in a lifetime opportunity to have a national treasure, and to have these 11 or 12 soldiers that were, the youngest was 97 years old, Korea, World War II. Amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
If that doesn't get you. And unfortunately at the top of the hour on Home Talk USA, I did a little pre-lig about my displeasures, and we're not going to get into politics here with this mayor of New York and what he did. It was horrible. But hey, you can read my comments, and people like commenting on it right now and said, hey, somebody has to stand up for America, because the same freedoms that we have that allowed me and you to get on the air. Because I guarantee if you was in Russia and China, we wouldn't be on the air right now. The government would be telling us what to say. But we get to educate and talk to Americans and to enjoy the freedoms, the blanket that these soldiers actually gave us. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. And, there's so much about our story, that allows, the inventors. And the thing that we're fighting now is, our system allowing other countries to steal our intellectual property. That just, oh man, that gets me burning and going like crazy. So, when we're looking out for the American inventor, that, we look at little ideas that become world changing ideas. Yeah. It's amazing. And we go from, the Wright brothers jumping off a cliff and learning how to fly to outer space, landing on the moon.
Yeah. And it was amazing. What was also amazing on that stage, I forgot what astronaut, what was his name, but he actually was the last astronaut actually to walk on the moon. He was on the stage with Trump and everything. And for all these conspiracists that tells us that we never walked on the moon, that was just Hollywood, and it never happened. Still today, you got people that don't believe that we walked on the moon, and have the astronauts sitting right on stage that actually walked on the moon. Think about it. What these crazy people are doing to destroy the accomplishments of America and what we did. And then they read out all the technology. You just started all the technology that America invented for the rest of the world.
Oh yeah.
It couldn't have been done unless you was in a capitalistic society.
Oh,
that
absolutely.
ain't gonna happen.
Those guys, in sneakers and cutoffs in a garage that came up with some of these little tech chips. Okay, that would not have happened in another country.
Yeah.
We'd be
It,
we'd be still talking on the old landlines instead of being able to go out there with all of our cool technology. Or somebody else would have it
yeah,
and control it and us. So no, America stands determined, all right, to innovate and to protect the little inventor in that process.
yeah. And I tell you, I want to mention this to you. I think in a future show when we take off, when we do the best of, I'm going to pull some of my old archive shows of about 15, 20 years ago on what you just said when I warned, the corporate society, what are you doing? Why are you shipping our technology overseas to China? I mean, I rant. I mean, 25 years ago, I remember some of the ranting I did and warned and try to get the American companies to understand what they were doing to allow China to steal our technology. What else you think was going to happen? Give them our technology because you're trying to save a few bucks. You know what I mean? It,
Oh
it
yeah.
just it just didn't sit right with me. Yep.
No, you're absolutely right. And the way it was just, it was all about the money at that point, and
Yeah.
corporate money, and shareholder money, and everybody wanted more money. And you know what? Life isn't about the money. A very wise man taught me the secret in life is to not be too greedy. And you know
Well,
what? When you start getting too greedy, you lose. In the long run, you lose.
Well, a smart man also told me a long time ago, he says, if you take money out of the equation and you become the very best of what you do and you provide a service, a want, a need, the money is going to follow. See, the money
Right.
is at the end. It's going to follow. You don't have to do anything for it because all you have to do is come up with something that the American consumer wants. And that's what we do on this show. We are so blessed, me and you, to sit and talk to the Bill Bowmans of the world and all these other characters. I'm not calling them characters because I'm degrading them, but I'm telling they come in and they tell their story. But we are the benefactors of these stories because they are what keep this country going. No matter how small or how uh, the piece that
Well,
a puzzle they provide, it
the
really
fun,
don't matter.
yeah, the funny thing is though, is that most of those inventors I deal with, they are quite the characters,
Oh
and
yeah,
they had better be if they're going to get through that fight and still be walking, because it's a long, hard battle. And not only do they have a ton of character, all of them, but they can be quite the character as well.
yeah, I think they should have two questions on their tests. First, are you an introvert or an extrovert? And if they check out introvert, then well, I don't think you're going to be in business too much. And nothing against the introverts out there because these are very highly intelligent people. But the extroverts are what make the world going around. They have the vision. They have the outspoken. The extroverts. You know what I mean? So,
Oh yeah.
are you an introvert or extrovert? Let me know, man. I'm gonna make it very easy, very hard for you. Rita.
Oh, absolutely. It's fun because, I'll get somebody that's got a really cool product, a little bit more on the introvert side. And they said, oh, I can't do an interview. It's like, yes, you can. It
Yeah.
is a phone conversation and you're doing very well right now. It's like,
Wow.
okay, okay. And they do just fine. But, we've got to just,
Well,
move the conversation along.
tell us about Bill Bowman. He's coming up shortly. A little bit about what we're going to expect from him.
Well, Bill is new in the process. He has got a product that is patent pending. We'll have him tell you about it. And we've talked to Bill about that industry that he's in. Is like, when we've got products, multiple products in the same industry, it's easier to go shopping for them. So he's just getting it out there. He's excited about it. It's he gets folks lined up and looking at it. And they're thinking, holy cow, this is pretty cool. So it's wonderful to see somebody that's got a product that can make a real difference in an industry.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to have to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to have our first guest, Mr. Bill Bowman. Don't forget that the top of the third hour, if you stay with us right here on the Invent America show, we're going to have the Made in America Hour, which is part of the Home Talk USA family. Don't forget, if you have a guest or a topic you would like us to discuss, just drop me an email at michaelking1350@yahoo.com. Tell me a little bit about your topic, and if it meets our criteria, we will go out and find the very best person in that technology. And if we can't find that person, then what we're going to do is we're just going to go find the inventor to find that person. You saw how I got out of that, right, Rita? All right,
I
we
saw
take a short
that,
break.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, we take a short break. We'll be right back. Invent America Show. Yeah, y'all come back now. You hear?
This segment of Invent America TV is brought to you by SearchQuest Patent Search. SearchQuest provides for a comprehensive patent search that searches the entire world and not just the U.S. Patent Office. Make sure that before you spend those big bucks having a patent written, you've done your due diligence by getting a comprehensive patent search. Use SearchQuestPatents.com for all your patent search needs. They scour the world for you.
Welcome back, America. This is the Invent America Show because America invents. I'm your host, the Cajun contractor, Michael King, along with the inventor lady herself, Miss Rita Crompton.
So my guest is Bill Bowman. Bill, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So tell everybody what you invented, what industry you're in. Give us a ballpark idea.
I invented a baseball bat force sensor, and it goes on the barrel of the bat. It's pretty simple. It's an isometric, so it's a press, and it details how strong players basically are at contact, and so it slows everything down to an isometric. And the reason I actually did it was I had not only played, I have Major League Baseball in my family, and scouted for 25 years. I coached for 10. And when I started coaching, I had all my kids that were doing strength training line up on the fence with their bats and use isometrics. And they'd have no idea how much pressure they're applying, but they wanted to know. And then that was the key that got me in a direction to where I found out that there was a miniature force sensor out there that did not only medical, but they were starting to do it in sports. How much pressure can you apply, and how do you work out with that, and what's the feedback? So the kids all wanted to know how much force that they were applying, basically. And so I found this little miniature force sensor that fit right on the bat, and it just velcros on there, and you just send it right at your face, and you apply the pressure, and it literally in grams shows you how much pressure you're forcing. And so it tells you exactly how strong you are personally. And then it became competitive with the other kids because they were all looking at your sensor, and then they're looking at their sensors, and now we've got a horse race. And that's when I knew that this was going to happen, because unless somebody else did it, I already saw the technology change to spin rate, velocity, launch monitors on baseball bats. They have all these things on the handle, but they had nothing on the barrel. So I researched it, came up with this little product, put it on the bat, made a prototype, sent it out. It's under patent search, and so far nobody seems to have thought of it. Ideally,
Oh, that's great. And innovation is a long process. We're talking about the birthday and how America has been innovating for centuries, but in the last 100 years we've led the world in innovation. But every inventor's got to start someplace.
Yeah, it was baseball all the way. It had to be in baseball. I don't know much about anything else, honestly, but I know a lot about baseball. So that it feels like that's a natural progression to look for something like this.
And the best inventors I deal with are the ones that invent in the industry that they work in, or in the knowledge that it doesn't matter if it's a pet product, a baby product, for the doctor's offices, car mechanics. If you're working in the field, if you're a farmer out in the field and your tractor breaks and you come up with a better way of fixing it, oh, holy cow, now you change the whole entire industry.
Yeah.
But it's one step at a time.
Yeah, it makes sense. And that it's funny because I had been in the game for so long, and I had scouted for 25 years. I watched so many baseball swings, but I never, once they started the strength training part of this and all these kids wanted to play D1 baseball, they had to go into this major pro strength training. And part of the training was isometric pressure, and it wasn't going to kill you because, the body in baseball has to stay really lean and it can't be tight. It's got to be loose. And so isometrics were the perfect answer for me. And so when I applied them onto the barrel, the only thing that I was hesitant about is someone might have already had the idea. I knew the idea was really good.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if it was already out there. So that's kind of where I'm at,
Yeah, right. So,
Maybe nobody thought of it. I don't know.
well, and it's in the process, like you said. So what's the goal? I mean, we get inventors that think they want to be startups. We get inventors that, want to be solo independent inventors. And then we get the smarter inventors that say, oh, shoot, no, I do not want to do this all alone. So where are you at in that? I already know your answer. That's why I could word it that way.
Yeah, because I've gotten help from day one with an investor, a buddy of mine that thought it was a great idea. I tempted him a little bit with, if it really worked, he's gonna be okay. But if it didn't, he's gonna get his money back, so he couldn't get hurt. But that helped a lot because I am not a rich man, and I hope this is a great fourth quarter for me. And the reason I'm doing this is so I can really get retired and go to the fourth quarter in great shape. That's why I'm doing it. Pretty much.
I understand. And so, you didn't really actually answer the question. So what are you looking for to do with your invention? Are you going to start manufacturing?
Of course I am. And plus, it's so easy to do. I'm hoping that somebody sees it and says, "Hey, man, we could just make this into a box, sell it in the counter at the sporting goods store." And it's so pathetically easy. You could literally take the prototype as is, put it in a beautiful little baseball box, and put it right on the counter. And I know these people are going to look at it and go, "What the heck is that?" And so that's the deal. Is it won't take a lot of money to manufacture. You could literally take it as is. I'd like to see it in a little baseball scheme thing, but you really don't need to. I can definitely use it as is, stick it on a baseball bat and be done with it. But that's the beauty of it, is if I manufacture it or have it manufactured, they won't have to do much to it. They can just, tweak it a little bit and make it look like a baseball thing. I don't know. And that's kind of the selling point. That's the marketing point.
All right. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on with us today. We are going to be right back with Mr. Raymond Baraska, and we're going to talk a little bit more about, the history. We've talked about, just getting started. Now we're going to talk about what makes America great when it comes to innovation. So stick with us, everybody. We will be right back.
If you're an inventor or you know an inventor out there who would just like to be able to have a conversation with other inventors, join the Inventors Roundtable. It's free. The meetings are virtual, so you can be anywhere in America and talk to another inventor. And for a lot of folks out there, understanding the process, being able to ask questions, getting good service provider information is critical to the inventing process. So, got questions? Want to join? It's free. inventorsroundtable.org.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for being with us for this segment of Invent America, because America invents. And this segment is brought to you by TrueView. It is the only accurate 3D real-time imaging blind spot mirror for your vehicle. It's easy to install, easy to use, and for the first time, you will actually know that vehicle coming up beside you, where it is, what it is, and how large it is. You can get your TrueView at cargocatch.com. So my guest right now is Mr. Raymond Baraska. And, you haven't had 100 years experiencing manufacturing in America, but you've had a few decades manufacturing. So, share with our audience some of the perspective that you've had of innovation right here in America.
Well, one of the things that I just heard as you were speaking was one of the things that we innovated, which was the railroad. What people don't understand is that
I love the background noise. Yes,
for
very
the
appropriate.
For the century between 1926 and the current day, America stands head and shoulders above every other nation on earth in terms of the volume and quality of the innovations that it's been responsible for, things that have changed the entire landscape worldwide. And what happens sometimes is we forget who we are. We forget that America is really all about innovation, that inventing in America is essentially what America is. America invents itself repeatedly over and over again, but America creates an environment where people who have aspirations, who dream, can actually achieve those dreams. And it's through the process of innovation that they actually end up achieving those dreams.
You know, it's when we look back at our very beginnings, you know, the people created solutions to problems. And it didn't, you know, I've said this before, if you couldn't fix the mast on the ship and the ship sank, okay, that didn't end well for anybody on that ship. But when you had a couple of young guys on there that saying, oh, let's try this, and they fix it and they land. All right, well, now the whole industry changes. And it didn't matter whether it was, you know, Ford creating the Model T, and, you know, now look at what we've got. Or if it was the, you know, the Wright brothers and the airplane, and now we go into space. It's amazing the power of the American inventor and how it has transformed our country.
Absolutely. And the key is that innovation has shifted in the most recent decades so that if we don't renew our commitment to innovation, we will lose out. The Chinese are particularly aggressive when it comes to innovation now. And some of the most recent breakthroughs have actually come from China. We need to, if you will, using an old expression, we need to man up, if you will, and get back to the place where we want to dominate the world in terms of innovation. Because American innovation always changes the world in a much more democratic and holistic way, because it's really built not around a government's agenda. It's built around individual achievement and individual dreams, and people can share dreams. What we know about American innovation is that it appeals to a wide variety of people around the world. And America has always been the beacon that draws people to it, because that's where they can experience the freedom to be able to innovate and to invent.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, there are stories over and over and over again of, you know, a stable boy inventing a new product to work on horses. He didn't have to give it to the guy who owned the ranch. He could do it himself. You know, the woman working in the kitchen as a, you know, as a cook and invent something. And the independent inventor has carried the weight of innovation decade after decade after decade. And it's America's job to protect that independent inventor from being ripped off, knocked off, stolen from, infringed on. And oh man, I'm not going to follow in Michael's footsteps of getting down onto the political track, but I can get really angry about some of this stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll give you an example of a couple of entrepreneurs who decided that they were going to solve the problems that had been created by a cartel to dominate newsprint in this country at the end of the 19th century. What had happened was all of the paper manufacturers throughout the country got together and decided to conspire and fix the price of newsprint. These two entrepreneurs went up to Maine and they petitioned the legislature to allow them to create a new corporation and build in a remote area of Maine that was undeveloped. And when they were given that permission by the legislature, they went back down to the cities in the Northeast, and they went hand in hat to different well-to-do families and told them this narrative about the need to break this cartel, because the newsprint, the newspaper publishers were being killed by the pricing that the newsprint manufacturing industry was creating. And they were able to raise these funds. They went back with the money. They imported Southern Italians up to a remote section in Maine. They built a mill, and the mill had 10 paper machines. And when those paper machines came on, they were world-class, state-of-the-art, and they basically destroyed the cartel that had been created through imagination, innovation, inspiration. And that mill became the dominant supplier of newsprint to the New York Times and to the Boston Globe for almost 100 years.
Amazing. Amazing. Good old American innovation. You know, the stories are endless, and we love being able to tell the stories. So if you are out there and you know of a company or a product or an inventor who has contributed to this country, would love to have them on the radio, because the stories, Ray, the stories are wonderful stories of people's determination and grit, just to keep on persevering. It's amazing.
Absolutely. And America is filled with people like that. We just need to tune back into that spirit in order for this country to just thrive as it once did.
We need to make it exciting again, and we need to protect these folks, all right, so that as they're taking those first steps and they're getting their patents filed and they're getting into the marketplace, we need to be able to protect them through that time frame so that they can get out there. Bill Bowman, he's got a wonderful product for changing training for baseball guys. Kids that are, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, training into high school, and make it better. And that's what so many of these wonderful inventors do, is that they'll change an industry.
Absolutely.
And so we are very grateful to be able to have the opportunity to, one, be able to tell the stories, but be able to help the inventors, whether it's through their intellectual property, getting prototypes done. We've got Noah McNeely with Product Quick Start. We've got the RPB law offices that helps them do all the legal stuff. And then Pronto Launch that will help them launch their product. So we've got all those tools for the American inventor out there. So don't be afraid to take the step. I mean, I guess that's our big message here, is that you change the world, American inventor. Don't be afraid to take the step, because there's people out there that have your back.
Absolutely.
So everybody, stick with us. We're going to be right back for another segment of Invent America with Mr. Baraska, and looking at how things might change as we go through the next phase of being able to invent in America. Because like I said, there's a lot of options out there. And we do the Inventor Roundtable meetings where you can get on and ask questions. The meetings are free. All you've got to do is log in. So check in with me. If you want the link, let me know. I am more than happy to supply you with that virtual link so that, twice a month you can get on and ask the questions about the process. And we do have experts there to be able to answer for you. So stick with us, everybody. We will be right back.
TrueUp, easiest way to hang your pictures. We all know how stressful picture hanging can get. TrueUp comes with everything you need to level and hang pictures with no damage and no mess. Just peel, apply the adhesive to the back of the TrueUp mount and press firmly. Remove the remaining adhesive. Use the level and press and hold for 3 to 5 seconds to attach the TrueUp mount to your wall with a strong hold. The TrueUp frame adapter is compatible with most frames on the market. Apply the adhesive strip to the adapter, stick, and your frame hangs easily on the wall mount. This lets you adjust your picture side to side for perfect placement every time. The possibilities are limitless, and it's easy on your walls. Picture hanging can be truly a one-person job. TrueUp, the future of hanging is here.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for being with us for this segment of Invent America, because America invents. And my guest for this segment is Ray Baraska. We're talking about, the history of innovation, but more importantly, the future of innovation. So, Ray, how do you see things changing, good and bad?
Okay. One of the most important things we can do for our inventors is to make sure that there is a level playing field when it comes to competing against interests that are stronger, bigger, and have more resources. And it's particularly relevant in the context of patent applications, and then patent prosecutions, and then securing the patents and keeping the patents intact against aggressive attacks by large entities, whether they are Chinese in origin or whether they are domestic in origin. What we've found, at least until very recently, is that the players that have already become established think of the patent system as a way to prevent other people from innovating. And so what we have to do is we have to make sure that our system, our United States Patent and Trademark Office system, operates on a level playing field basis. So, for instance, the current director, and like it or not, he was appointed by Trump, is absolutely sensational. His agenda is to basically dismantle as much of the USPTO bureaucracy and infrastructure as he possibly can, to the extent that that bureaucracy and infrastructure impedes the ability of solo independent inventors to actually end up with protectable intellectual property. Okay?
Yeah, it's not fair when a big company can look at a little guy and say, "Whoa, that is a really cool idea," and then take it. That is not the way that we were wired to begin with. It is not. The USPTO is supposed to be protecting innovation, not allowing someone else to devour it.
That's exactly right. And so that's where we need to put a lot of our energy, is making sure that our USPTO agency operates on a level playing field basis, that they don't tilt in favor of large corporations, because large corporations that are already established view independent inventors as the enemy. In fact, they love to label them patent trolls, which is completely and totally unfair. A patent troll is someone who goes around and aggregates other people's patents into a single portfolio and then uses that to basically shut down innovation. That's not what these solo independent inventors are doing. What happens, though, is because the system until very recently has been tilted in favor of these large organizations, and the people within the USPTO have tried to curry favor with these large organizations. They basically use the PTAB system, the Patent Trial Appeals Board, as a way to question the validity of patents that have already been issued to individual inventors. And what's really interesting about this is that it shows up in how these large corporations do acquisitions. Okay, so what has happened is Silicon Valley has transformed from being about growing their businesses by acquiring other businesses and then folding them in. It's transformed from that, where they're running a whole bunch of really good, cool, creative businesses within this one large corporate shell. Instead, what they've done is they now go out and acquire a business, not because they're interested in continuing that business, regardless of how outstanding and spectacular that business may be on its own. They go out and acquire businesses, and they value these businesses based on how many engineers are in that business that they can acquire and redeploy in items that they are particularly interested in pursuing. To hell with what the smaller company was involved in. Okay?
Yeah, I've heard so many examples over the years of, an inventor going out there, the solo inventor, and, they put together the funds and they get it out the door, and then someone infringes on them and wants to have their patent determined invalid. And that's what the PTAB does, is it buys into the big corporate stuff. And it just makes me so frustrated. But, one of our classic examples is Josh Malone with a bunch of balloons. I mean, almost everybody in the world has seen a bunch of balloons these days. I have bought a ton of them. And so, he was infringed on by a big company, but he had licensed his product to a toy company, and they had the pockets and the baseball bat, all right, to go after the infringer. And they did. And so they won. It took 5 years and lots of money, but they finally did win. But most inventors who go solo, they don't have that as an advantage. And so a lot of the inventors, that's a big reason why they license now to a bigger company that does have the bigger baseball bat and will go after the infringer.
Yeah, and another way in which we can help, besides ensuring that the USPTO creates a level playing field for all participants, we can also think about what they call sovereign funds, where the government becomes a partner with private enterprise to create funds where individual inventors can come and get grants or seek financing in order to finance their way through a very difficult process. So that's another way in which we as a nation can help our inventors compete on the global scale, is by providing the financing through a government-private enterprise partnership that actually encourages innovation. And many nations actually have something very similar to that. It's just that we've never thought through the process. Well, this, again, like it or not, this is one of the platforms of Trump's administration, is to create a sovereign fund that could do precisely that.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today and helping us to go on about our wonderful heritage and our celebration with innovation. And next week, we will have another segment and episode of Inventing in America. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We will be back next week with more stories on getting products from mind to market. We will have new inventors and industry experts. So join us and have a wonderful week.